Today, we have an extraordinary guest joining us, Nick Santanastasso, known globally as a trailblazing entrepreneur, dynamic international speaker, and a fitness icon. Nick has inspired millions with his relentless drive, resilience, and transformative mindset. Despite facing incredible personal challenges, he has built multiple successful ventures, delivered powerful keynotes that leave audiences energized and empowered, and has become a beacon of strength in the fitness world. Whether he's on stage or coaching clients, Nick Santanastasso is passionate about helping people unlock their potential and live their best lives. Get ready to be inspired. All right, Nick, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm ready to serve and dive deep here.
Amazing. You have been through so much. Right from being a kid, you had all kinds of other people's beliefs thrown on you about what you could and couldn't do. I think you've shared famously a story about the doctors telling your parents a list of things that you would not be able to do as you were growing up. You didn't let any of that stop you. What is your secret sauce? What's the one thing you would give as a piece of advice to someone who has all of these self-limiting beliefs to help shake them out of that and give them the encouragement they need to overcome?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? So for those that are listening, I was born with no legs, one arm, and so you can see there's probably some physical challenge and mental challenges that I faced throughout my 28 years of life. I would say the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is you're not alone. We're all jacked up a little bit. So we all have we all have conditioning, we all have indoctrination. I believe that most of our beliefs aren't ours. We picked them up along the way. Someone said something, your mom, your dad, someone in school said something, and you started to believe that, right? And when you think about a belief, all a belief is a story that you've reinforced over and over and over again, that you believe it so much. And the reason why this is so impactful is because your beliefs shape your destiny. Whatever you believe is going to make up of your matrix or your 3D world, and the brain is the best detective in the world, and it's always going to try to find evidence to prove yourself right. So based on your beliefs, you will find or create the evidence to prove those beliefs right. And so I think the biggest piece of advice that I can give people is one, that you're not alone, and two, you can only see what you can see and you can only hear what you can hear. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, neuroscience shows that roughly by the age of 35 years old, you are 95% unconscious. That means your actions, your words, your emotions, your triggers, the way that you show up in the world is on autopilot. And so I would highly suggest that you get someone to see or to listen to your language and to listen to what you're saying, as you did to me before we even got on the show. You were using the things on me as well, talking about beliefs. We all have them. Is you have to get outside of yourself, and you have to get someone that's outside of yourself that can see your blind spots. I always say to my students and the people that I teach, if your coach doesn't have a coach, you need a new coach. And so I have a coach for everything, right? And that's because I can only see what I can see. So one, have grace and compassion for yourself because you're not alone. Most of the things that we're doing are unconscious. Second is seek mentorship or seek guidance, whatever that guidance comes in, right? You were talking about guidance in medicine. You can have guidance in mentorships. You can have guidance in videos, whatever it is. But the very belief that you think you don't have limiting beliefs is the very belief that's holding you back from the next level of life.
Wow. I love that. It's just so encouraging too, just to first just realize like where you're at and do like an inventory of, who you're around and what are the themes of conversation that you're picking up on all the time. What are, as you mentioned, like what are people telling you? What are you collecting as you go? Because it's really just a snowball effect of every single day you're hearing that you're not good enough or even telling yourself that you're not good enough. That is what you're going to become, not good enough. If you change that just one little thing, one at a time, maybe change the person that you're hanging out with, maybe change if you don't have a coach, get a coach, if you're not in a routine, get a routine. So all of those things are compounding in that snowball effect of whether you're going to make it or break it. So I love that.
So good.
Amazing.
So
Yeah.
good. I think also, if you don't mind too, is I think sometimes we lose our curiosity as a kid. And the reason why this is so impactful, right, is because if you were the type of little boy or little girl where your parents, said like, why do you ask so many questions? Or like, shut up. Or they said specific things that kind of blocked your curiosity, which by the way, if you really want to liberate yourself, we must also understand that our parents or whoever raised us was doing the best they could with what they knew in their current conditioning. We only know
Mm.
we know. We only know what we know. We only know what our program has taught us, and most of the time we're unconscious, right? And so what I mean by curiosity is, as an adult, if an emotion arises, instead of just being like, oh, this is the way that I feel, I always ask myself, what did I do? What did I think? What did I focus on? What did I create in my brain that made me feel this way? Because ultimately, with the brain, what we focus on, we feel, and what we feel is our life. And so oftentimes our emotions, I would say my hallucination is that our emotions are self-generated. They're self-created. It's like, I'll give you a great example. If you're and I've done this, if you're in a relationship with a significant other, and that significant other goes out to the grocery store, and you're insecure, and you're like, oh, they're probably talking to someone in the grocery store, or maybe they're not at the grocery store, and you start creating this scenario in your head, and then you feel insecure, you feel inadequate, and then that person comes home, and you treat them with that same energy. That wasn't them, that was you that created it, right? And so when an emotion arises, what I would also give people is ask yourself, where did this emotion come from? What triggered me? What did I say? What meaning did I attach to it? What did I create in my head? Because then you can basically dismantle the pattern of thinking, the pattern of creating, the pattern of attaching meanings. And so I just want people to get more curious, because the truth is, if you start being the observer, as you know, we can dive deep into this, is like, as you become the observer of your human experience and you like get outside yourself, you realize that you've created everything. You've created everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. And the more that you can get curious, you can find some root causes and you can liberate yourself.
The mind prison that you're talking about right now is such a big resonating topic for me that I've been so curious about, even for my own self, as I've been doing my own self work. You often will hear things like, you need to start looking at your own behavior, or you need to realize that everything is a product of you. Like, people say these like common themes that make sense, but it doesn't really click. And I think what's really made it click for me is what you just said. Go from being, instead of it just being an observer, or sorry, not observer, a reactionary person where you're stuck in a loop, you're just reacting to the things that are going on around you, right? Your coworker's mean, so you snap back at them. You're in LA traffic, someone's honking at you, so you swerve around them and slam on your brakes, right? You're just like reactionary, and you're just allowing the things around you to control you. Essentially, you're locked in this mind prison of, it's everyone else, it's all external, it's everyone else's fault, I'm just reacting, and my life sucks. But if you do just an inventory where, let's just say you're starting on this journey and you think your life sucks, you think your situation sucks, and you're somebody who is sitting there going, it's everyone else's fault. I'm a victim. This is a product of everyone else treating me poorly. My coworkers are crappy. The traffic is bad, all of those things. Like, maybe just for a week, if you're starting on the journey, you've decided that you want to make a change. You don't want your life like this anymore. You're tired of it. Just observe for a week, right? Where it's just, you're taking inventory of like, when are you reacting and why? Like, if someone cuts you off in traffic, let them go get in a car accident by themselves. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be involved in that. If your coworker's nasty to you, maybe offer them good supporting love and positive affirmations back. Maybe try to change their day, right? Just do an inventory of what's going on around you, how it's making you feel, and write out a list of possibilities of how you could react instead, and not be a victim of your circumstance. So that leads me into my next question for you, which is, I wanted to unpack, like, you didn't just wake up a brilliant guru on the mind. You didn't just have all of this wisdom to offer us today without, going through a lot of different exploring and, hardships and failures and things like that to get to here today. I've seen content with you as early as I think you were like 12 years old or something. So tell me a little bit about, so you obviously were born into the situation you're born into. Walk me through life for you as a kid, and what really started putting you on the path of, taking ownership of your mind.
For sure. That's a beautiful question. I appreciate that. And I'm very upfront with people when they're like, "You're so amazing." And I'm like, the reason why I'm amazing is because I'm so broken. And ultimately it's what you see now is, I wanted a build big things so people would finally love me. So I finally felt enough. So I finally feel adequate. So when you look at it like that, I'm extremely grateful for the trauma or for whatever was presented to me, because it fueled me. But growing up, right, I'm 28 years old. For 19 years of my life, I was a victim. So for those that are listening and watching, I'm not preaching from a place of perfect. I'm preaching from a place of, I know exactly where you were, because I hated everything about myself. I hated my body. I hated the way that I looked. I hated my limbs. I hated the fact that I believe women didn't like me and girls didn't like me, and I didn't get the love that I received, like I wanted, all these different things. And so for me, early on, I was pure and I didn't realize I was different, right? When I was in first grade, second grade, third grade, I'm sure like there was little things, but I don't really remember much of feeling out of the ordinary. I think I was just more pure. And then things really took a turn when I got into middle school and high school. And we can all agree kids are just savages, right? They only know what they know, and they're savages at that age. And I I had a specific moment that I talk about a lot, but the specific moment that really gave me a lot of pain was I was on a school bus when I was about 16 years old, and there was a girl to the left of me, and she was making fun of everybody. And she looked at me in my eyes and she said, Nick, I don't even have to start with you. You're already too messed up anyway. Look at you. And based off specific experiences, we develop beliefs about who we are and what we're capable of. Remember, most is caught, not taught, right? And so she said that to me, and I started to believe her that I was disgusting, that I was unattractive, that I was inadequate, that I'll never have a girlfriend, I'll never have a wife, because of that experience, I didn't go to my junior prom, I didn't go to my senior prom, I didn't go to winter formals. Like I didn't do anything because of that one experience. And that pain, and I didn't know this at the time, right? We talked about like transmuting, right? Being a magician, right? It's like I I was I hated myself so much where basically I had an honest conversation with myself and I said you have two choices. You either take your life, which you don't have the strength to do and you couldn't do that to your family. So Nick, that's probably not an option. And or second, you figure out how to fall in love with this body because this body ain't gonna change, right? This is what you got, right? And so it's that was my choice. And I always let people know. And what's really interesting about different gurus and teachers and philosophers is there's so much that you can take from all of them, and you don't need to. You can reject some specific things. We talked about that earlier. It's like you can accept things and reject things, and some teachers will tell you that you don't need to wait till you experience pain to change. You can change from a place of a beautiful place. And some teachers will say that pain is leverage and leverage is the thing that you need to change. And for me at that time, the pain of me feeling inadequate and the pain of me not feeling like I was loved was the leverage I needed to shift my life. And my shift in life, to be honest, most of my success from 16 to, I'm probably still running the program, but from 16 to 28 was I wanted validation from women. And so the first thing that I did was I became a wrestler. And my older brother was a wrestler. I wanted to be just like my brother. And at the time, my right limb was about 5 inches longer than it is now. My bone was growing faster than my skin. So I actually made the decision to amputate 5 inches of my arm off to become a wrestler, to go to that extreme. And so I became a wrestler. That started to change my life. And from there, it was a snowball of Nick's evolution. But to answer the question is childhood was extremely difficult. And at the time, I didn't know why I was going through it, but you can never connect the dots looking forward. You can always connect the dots looking backwards. And so for those that are out there that may be in a season of loss, for those that are out there maybe in a season of pain, I want to let you know that there's a reason for every season. And on the other side of loss is found. And so it's the way that you view it. And I can assure you there's been so many times in your life for those that are listening where you didn't know why you were going through the thing that you're going through. And then when you looked back at the other side when you've overcame it, it was one of the greatest blessings for you. So for me, it was massive amounts of pain that forced me and pushed me to big build things. So maybe one day I'd be loved.
You know what's so funny about your story with girls is when the first time that I learned about you, we have a mutual friend and he was following you on social media, and that mutual friend and I were on a hike and he was flipping through Instagram and he was like, look at this guy. He's always with all the hottest girls. And as we looked at your Instagram, he showed me, he's like, look at this guy. This girl's a model. Like, look at these beautiful girls. All these women are around him. So whatever you're doing, keep it up because I think you've solved your problem. You're getting all kinds of gorgeous women around you all the time.
I appreciate that. If I could just touch on that, because I think a lot of people can benefit from it, is a few things. The first thing is the world is a mirror for you.
Mm.
So whatever you're experiencing, it's going to reflect, right? And so, for example, like when Nick was victim Nick, and I'm sure that program still comes up. I'm not perfect, but when Nick was running off the victim programming most of the time, if a girl was looking at me in public, my perception was like, why are they making fun of me? They're probably joking about me. What if she thought I was hot? But that was the program that I was running. So I see what I want to see. You tracking? So I see
Yeah.
whatever I want to see. But what I've realized too is one, the universe is a mirror. The other thing is, right, is you can only attract the qualities that you possess. It's a spiritual law, right? So if you want more love, be more love. If you want more
Mm.
acceptance, be more acceptance. If you want more happiness, be happy, right? But you can only attract the qualities that you possess. If you're pissed off and angry, you're going to find pissed off and angry everywhere. The other thing that I also realized, and by the way, I'm still building evidence on it. There's still moments in my life where I feel inadequate. One of the greatest exercises that I take people through facilitation is helping them identify what emotion they feel most frequently. And for those that are listening right now, my most frequent suffering emotion is inadequacy. Even with the level of wealth I have, the level of success, accolades, whatever it is, I still feel inadequate. So I want to let people know, like, I'm not perfect. I'm still working at this. But what I've also realized is that, and this is a whole nother rabbit hole, but you can reel me back in afterwards, is that physical attraction is one thing. But when energy aligns, my physical body disappears for people. There's been so many times where people say they're hanging out with me and they say, I totally forgot that you're in a wheelchair. Or I totally forgot that you need help. Or like sometimes they'll just walk away and I'm in my wheelchair. They're like, bro, I forgot. Sorry. It's just because the energy and the presence. And so for those that are out there, physical attraction is one thing, but when you're aligned with specific energy, energy finds energy. And that was a massive breakthrough for me because I still struggle, right? There's still moments where the 13-year-old boy comes out, right? But what's beautiful about this is the moments when suffering emotions arise, the moments when you feel insecure and inadequate, those are the moments you get to work on yourself. Those are the defining healing moments. If you only felt beautiful emotion, there's no opportunities to heal. Personal development, you only get to pull the hammer out of the tool belt when you got to fix something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, the powerful thing for me right now that I'm just resonating on so much is the ability to transmute, as we brought up earlier, any contrast in our lives into something that we actually want. So contrast, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term in kind of the spiritual sense, or about feelings, things like that, it's basically turning, you need contrast in your life. That's, if you believe in God or not, you'll kind of probably have once had this question of, if there is a God, why doesn't he just take all the suffering away and make everything perfect? Well, the answer to that is we need contrast for expansion. We need contrast for change. We need contrast for growth. And so that means we're going to have both sides of the spectrum. We're going to have positive, we're going to have negative, right? That's the same thing with the battery. You got positive and negative ends of it. And so, if you're finding yourself constantly in negative, it's time to start balancing it out with positive. And you can do that for yourself. You don't need anything outward. You don't need anything external to yourself to do that. That's something that it all comes from within. And so often when we're stuck in our mind prisons, we're basically in this place where we have this belief that we don't have the qualities, the skill sets, the body, whatever it is that we need to achieve X result. And you've probably heard a lot of billionaires, millionaires say that, it's lonely at the top and that it doesn't matter how much wealth you have, how much money you have, et cetera. All of those things are meaningless when you're sitting in a house by yourself, and your money, whatever it is, right? Status, that stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. So if you're in a mind prison right now and you're thinking you need an X factor before you can start changing your life, please let Nick and I be the first people to encourage you that it's all from within, that you just need to say, I've had enough of feeling not enough. I've had enough of not feeling like or thinking that I am enough, and start making a change. And that looks like taking an inventory, looking around you. What are some things that you're perfectly in control of? If it's, I'm just going to say, I feel fat and I feel out of shape and I don't have the body I want to get the success and attract the people I want. Okay. What's something that you can do within your control, within your power to change the result? And that might mean maybe it's time to get out of bed a little bit earlier before you go to school or work and go to the gym. So, and I know you did some of that. Like, you became like this fit guru. Like, you're all up online, working out in the gym all the time. You're doing all kinds of stuff. You have an amazing body. So tell me a little bit about that. I mean, just, that's a great example to use about how you just changed the course of your own life by taking control of something.
For sure. And two things. The first thing is the reason why I got in shape was for women, right? So the initiative immediately, like in the beginning, was all validation of like, oh, maybe girls will like me if I'm in shape. If I may have no legs, but I can be jacked and have no legs, and maybe that will help the people like me. This is like, I'm just letting you know where I was back then. But what's also interesting with the physical body is I think it's one of the fastest ways to really see proof of manifestation. Real change, right? Is like, you are what you eat, and you are what you use your body on. And so for those that want to see immediate result or immediate results or quick results in the sense of like physical manifestation is like if you could just control what you put in this hole and you move your body a little bit, life will start to change. It's very simple, right?
He's pointing
And
to his
so, but
mouth for
I
the listeners. Yeah.
oh, sorry, yeah. I'm pointing to my mouth, and
We
good
don't want to
catch.
get the holes
And
mixed
so,
up.
and so that was but for me I was like, man, if I could be in shape, if I could be an athlete, maybe I'd be loved more. But also, once the law of exposure states, once you're exposed, you can never be unexposed again. And I can assure you, for those that are listening right now, once you see change in your body, you'll never want to give it up. You'll never want to give up the way that you feel, the way that you feel physically, the way that you feel mentally. And also, like, we can dive deep in this whole physical thing, but like in life, you get exactly what you think you're worth.
Mm.
In every single arena of life, you get exactly what you think you're worth. In money, if you don't think you're worth the money, you're going to make it and sabotage it, or you'll never ask for it, right? With relationships, if you don't think you're worth the relationship, you'll get in and self-sabotage it. And so I think one of the greatest ways, and you can control it, is to get your body in check. And I think all other areas of your life will start to improve because you get physical. But also, if we're going to go nerd brain stuff, is if you're feeling suffering emotions or negative emotions and you have all your legs and you're blessed to have all your legs and all your arms and you go for a run, I can assure you by the end of the run, you're not going to feel insecure anymore. You're not going to feel inadequate. You're going to change your state so rapidly that you're going to feel beautiful emotions. They call it runner's high. There's a reason for that because you drastically change your state. You can change your state through breath work. You can change your state through yoga and meditation, right? But understand that if you're in your poopy diaper, you've created the diaper and you're sitting in the diaper, and you can always take the diaper off and change a new diaper, right? And one of the fastest ways that you can do that is physical activity and changing your body. And if I want to come from a more head-centered place and not a heart-centered place, like if the man with no legs but arm is in better shape than you and nurtures his temple more than you do, there's a lot of work that needs to be done,
Mm.
right? I have less than you. I have every reason to be hooked on drugs. I have every reason to be fat and lazy, and except I'm the total opposite. I don't even have most of the body that you do, and I still nurture my temple more than most people. And so I can assure you that I'm more confident and have more self-love in myself because I look good naked. And ultimately that helps, right? And so try it out, try it on, like do it consistently, but ultimately anything that's going to allow you to build integrity within yourself will change the quality of your life. The reason why people suffer from feeling inadequate or not enough is because you made promises and you've broken them. And when you break one promise, it's easy to break more promises and more promises. And next thing you know, you're the man or woman who cried fit. You're the man who and woman who cried, I'm going to start a business. You're the man or woman who cried, I'm going to make a podcast, and you never do it. So you don't even believe in yourself. How do you want other people to believe in you if you can't even keep your word? So if you start making micro commitments and start following through on those things and celebrating them, you're going to find so much momentum, clarity, and confidence in your life that you'll never go back.
Mm. I got a couple of things on that. So one, I just recently went through a plant medicine retreat in Austin, Texas, at a great organization. It's a nonprofit called Illuminating Co. for veterans and first responders to deal with deep mental health issues. And while I was there, it was so shocking to me that I hadn't done it sooner. So I had been struggling for, 10 years since I got back from Afghanistan with some deep PTSD, and it was affecting every facet of my life. Huge anxiety, depression, sleep issues, thoughts of ending my life, etc. And I'd done all the traditional Western medicine stuff like talk therapy, Ambien, sleep medications, SSRIs, prescription pills, things, and nothing helped. Everything just made it worse, everything. And I was definitely in victim mode. And going to the plant medicine retreat was such a wake-up call for me. I took it so seriously. To go through plant medicine, you have to do what's called a dieta, where you basically do a diet. You clean yourself out of, alcohol. You stop drinking alcohol. You cut caffeine for a little bit. You try to reduce your meat intake, things like that. So you have like a clean body for the medicine to do its work. And there was a big difference between me and a couple of the other people who went through the course, where they were like really wanting, like, I can't have coffee. Like, what do you mean I can't have coffee? The day they got back from the retreat, they're already drinking alcohol again, right? And they're introducing back into their system the things that keep you locked in a cycle of depression and anxiety, right? So the difference between me and them, and I'm not saying I'm better by any means, but I had just suffered so terribly for like 10 plus years, terribly, that I was like, I am never, this dieta, this week of retreat, this experience I went through was so life-changing for me. I was able to process so much trauma And I felt amazing. I had zero anxiety, zero depression. I was like, there is no way I'm going to introduce back into my system caffeine, which exacerbates my anxiety. There's no way I'm going to start drinking alcohol again because that makes me depressed and I know it. So it's like where I'm going with this is how bad do you want change? Right? If you're someone who's like, my life sucks and I want this, but I can't get it, and here's a list of reasons why, you obviously don't want the change bad enough. You don't want it. So I mean, just give up now. Give up now on even saying, don't complain anymore about saying how bad your life sucks. If you're the type of person who, the second you go through a healing experience, you start reintroducing back immediately the things that got you there in the first place, right? You don't want it bad enough. And so, I so admire your journey that you're on, because you've just like been this powerhouse snowball of like, I didn't like my lot in life, so I'm going to change it. And you've just grown into this incredible powerhouse where now you're traveling around the world, you're speaking on public stages, you've got a massive YouTube following and social media following, you're working with some of the biggest names on some of the biggest stages in the world. And this is all because you want it bad enough. So tell me a little bit about that and how do you maintain that momentum?
Yeah, it's a great question, and thank you so much for sharing that. There, like very quickly, there's a story that I use on stage, right? And ultimately, there's a guy and he's walking down the street and he's walking to work, and he notices there's a dog chained up on the porch and the dog is crying. And so he goes to work and he works his 8 hour shift and he's on his way home and he's walking and the dog is still on the porch crying after 8 hours. He's like, I wonder what's going on with this dog. And so he wakes up, he goes to sleep and he wakes up the next morning and he's on his way to his work again. And lo and behold, there's a dog and the dog's still crying. And he notices that the owner's outside. And he's like, I got to figure this out. So he goes up to the owner and says, Mister, yesterday the dog was crying. Today's the dog crying. Like, what's wrong with him? And the owner goes, oh, him? He's sitting on a nail. And he says, well, why doesn't he get up? He says, I guess it just don't hurt that bad.
Mm.
And oftentimes, like you said, we don't change because it hasn't hurt that bad. And that's why I believe, some gurus will say, other philosophers will say one thing, but oftentimes we need pain in order to make a massive shift in our life. So the leverage. Now, for me, I understood, check this out. I understood that the pain of moving forward will always be less than the pain of being good at something and then fail and then never doing it again. So for example, with speaking, I believe I'm so incredibly good at articulating on stage that if I stopped speaking, it would be way more painful than me continuously speaking and becoming a better speaker. And so the pain of moving backwards is always going to be greater than the pain of moving forward. The other thing that keeps my momentum going is romanticizing with the future so I don't stay stuck in the past.
Mm.
The reason why a man with no legs of an arm jumps out of bed faster than someone with all their arms and all their legs is because I have sat down and taken the time to create a compelling vision for my life. People forget that they hold the paintbrush of the canvas of life and they're not painting it. They're letting other people throw disgusting paint on it. It's an ugly canvas. And the hardest work most humans won't do is think. They're in program. They're in unconscious. So how about you sit down and you romanticize what the next 6 months of your life looks like? And the reason why that's so impactful is because when you can create such a compelling vision for your future and your life and start romanticizing with it, one, you jump out of the past. You're not focused on the path anymore. But the other thing is internally you create empowered anticipation. And empowered anticipation is you getting so fired up about the future that you're not worried about all the other things because you have a vision in mind. So I'll give you an example. I've been living in Dubai for 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks. And the first thing that I did with my business partners, we sat down in our Airbnb and we said, what is the next year of our life going to look like? What body fat percentage do we want to be at? How much money are we going to give our families? Are we going to build schools? How much money are you going to make? Which car are you going to drive? Are you going to have a driver? Are you going to have a chef? Like, this is just what level of life I'm like romanticizing with the future versus staying stuck in the past. And so that would be my advice to people. Also, the other thing that has kept this snowball of momentum is I can't do this alone. I need people around me that are great energy batteries versus vampires, right? And so I'm very conscious of who I spend my time with. And if you notice, the more you do personal development, you realize most people around you are actually holding you back. they're casting their beliefs, their language is limited, their visions are limited, or you tell them your vision and then they destroy you and they're like, that doesn't seem realistic. And so I'm very, very cautious and conscious of who I'm spending time with. I'm always creating a compelling vision for my life. And then also, I'm a big who, not how. Most people, well, how am I going to get in shape? Or how am I going to build a business? How am I going to start the podcast? And me, my primary question is who? Who has the results that I want? And how can I get the knowledge that they have so I can condense time? Oftentimes, people see someone doing something incredible and they think that that person is superior. But the next time that you see someone being incredible and doing things incredible, I want you to just ask yourself, what knowledge do they know that I haven't been exposed to, and how can I get some of that? Because it's a knowledge thing. The
Mm.
most dangerous information is the information you don't know, and you're one piece of knowledge away from a new life. And so it's not a superior thing or an inferior thing. They've been exposed to the game that you haven't been exposed to. They probably have a more compelling vision for their life. They have a great set of friends, and those are the things that you need to set intention on.
Mm. I love the train of thought of setting intention. Recently I'm single, and which is an intentional practice right now because I was not attracting the right type of partners before. And going through this healing experience over the last few months that I've been going through, I've been doing an inventory of like, well, who am I allowing into my energy? What type of guy have I been attracting? And it's obviously not been the right one. So let's take a break. Let's reevaluate. And my girlfriend recently asked me, she said, well, what kind of guy are you looking for? And I surprised myself because I didn't know the answer. I didn't even know.
Mm,
And so I just went through the exercise very mindfully to sit down and write a list of qualities of what I'm even looking for in a partner. And then I did the same thing for my career. What do I want for my career? Well, I wrote those down too. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I want to live? What kind of house do I want to have? What do I want to be spending my days doing recreationally? What types of activities do I enjoy? So I went crazy with it, and I just wrote out basically like a whole life plan. Another way that you could do this for those listening at home is you could do a vision board, right? If you're more of a visual person and you want to see pictures and things, make a Pinterest board, or do it physically, cut out magazines and stuff. But it was really interesting. It was such a light bulb moment where my friend was like, well, what do you even want? And I literally could not answer the question. And so it's like, well, no wonder the universe is confused on what to bring me. I don't even know myself. So, sitting down and doing that exercise is huge. So as we talk about manifesting, which is such a big word, I think at this point people are starting to tune it out, because a lot of people are like, it's easy for the billionaires and the millionaires to tell me to manifest. It's easy for the rich and famous people to tell me to manifest, and they kind of tune it out. But what I've been learning is it's not just saying that you want it. It's embodying it. It's feeling it. It's resonating the frequency and the vibration of it. So, in the morning, I've started a new practice where with my list for what I want my husband to be, I now just sit and meditate, and I feel like, what does love feel like? What does holding
mm.
hands with that person feel like? What is building a house and all these pretty finishes I put on my list about what my house looks like? I'm feeling like walking into that room and seeing those things. So I'm thinking you've done some of that practice too, right?
Yes. Oh, this is all good stuff. Now, by the way, for those that are listening, just try it on. So when we talk about this, and it may sound something that's totally crazy, and maybe we have our tinfoil hats on, just try it on. There's something here, right? Success leaves clues. So I'm a big Joe Dispenza guy. And so Joe Dispenza, quantum theory. And what's very interesting is just like the word manifestation, when you say meditation, people don't have the scientific knowledge of what meditation is, so they go into the meditation with a specific meaning, right? But Joe talks about knowledge is the precursor to experience. And so if you give people the knowledge on exactly why they're doing what they're doing, they attach a more empowering meaning to the work, right? And so what we're talking about is when you watch a television show on Netflix, is that the only show that's on Netflix? No, it's the only one you're tuned into. And what if I were to tell you one of your biggest challenges is that you've been tuned into the station of insecurity. You've been tuned into the station of inadequacy. You've been tuned into the station of toxicity. And so you're like, why are all these, not you, but right, why are these guys all the same? Or why are these girls all the same? Or why are all these things always falling through? You're just tuned into a specific frequency. Now, there's three parts of the brain. You have the thinking, you have the doing, and you have the being. And ultimately, maybe beautiful emotions aren't something that you're used to feeling. And in order to be those emotions, you have to, with enough repetition, do it until your body goes from thinking it to doing it to being it, right? A tree, you don't need to tell a tree how to be a tree, it just trees. The Empire State Building, you don't need to tell it how to Empire State build, it just Empire State builds, right? It's because it's being it. And so, as you were mentioning, when you can experience these emotions by going inward or focusing on things that make you feel this way, you start to tune into that channel and you start to attract those things to you. Now, I'm not going to dive into the whole quantum theory thing, but ultimately everything is frequency, right? The 3D world is the slowest frequency. That's why we can feel it with physical matter. But when you go inward with a meditation, you become nowhere, you become no one, and you become nothing. You start to elevate your frequency and you can create from the quantum field and you can draw things to you. My identity, one of my identities, because we wear a lot of identities, is I'm a magician. When people say, Nick, you're in Dubai for 4 weeks and you already met the crown prince. How does this make? I'm a magician. I've already seen it. I don't know when it's going to happen. Now check this out. So, and just to piggyback on the thinking, doing, being, everybody listening right now, remember the first time you learned how to drive a car, you're probably freaking out. You were thinking about putting the seatbelt on, you were looking at the rear view mirrors, and then you were on your way. And then at this point, you've driven thousands of times. How many of you listening right now have driven from point A to point B and had no idea where time went? You just woke up and you're at your house. You just woke up, you were at work. That's because you drove so many times until you have unconscious competence. It's the same thing with the emotions that you want to feel. You have to do them with enough intensity until it becomes you, right? And so this whole thinking, doing, being thing is like you are being the emotions that are going to draw that person right to you. I totally went on a tangent and actually lost where I was going with that rabbit hole. But with manifestation and meditation, this is another thing as well. As entrepreneurs and people who are action takers and achievers, you have goals, but you're also trying to muscle how it manifests. And that's your block. You're trying to control the outcome. You're trying to control exactly how the deal is going to close, exactly how your husband's going to come into your life, exactly how you're going to get that house. But I would guide you, or for you to try it on, is set intention on exactly what you want, feel those specific emotions, and then surrender it to God. Surrender it to the universe, surrender it to the quantum field, because when you try to put the known over the unknown, you block the magic from happening. But how many times in your life have you had a moment where someone came into your life, or money came into your life, or an opportunity came into your life and it totally blindsided you? And if you have feet, it knocked you right off your feet. And you were like, wow, I don't know how that happened. I don't know about you, but I want more magic in my life. And so if you want to draw more magic into your life, set an intention, feel the specific emotions, but surrender how it's going to manifest, and watch out. Watch out, because it's going to hit you like a Mack truck when it hits. And even me, check this out, this is just another practice for everybody, is anytime there's a mystical, magical moment, and I could do a better job at this, but I have a magic video folder where I'll take out my phone, I'll go, hey Nick, you're 28 years old, you're in Colombia, this just happened. This girl got out of a taxi. She locked eyes with you. She came up to you, thought you're really attractive. She put your number in the phone, and then you had a great time. Or, hey, Nick, you're 27 years old. You're in China. You just landed this deal. You don't know how it happened. And any time that I forget that there's magic in the world, I go into my magic folder and reaffirm the magic.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to do that from now on. Yeah, I'm finding myself in these really cool moments too lately. So I'm going to start making a magic folder. I love that suggestion. You know, something you just said recently that is such a true moniker. I've been saying it for months now to other people as well, that it changed my life, is if you're still in victim mode, meaning you're still thinking everything, you're a product of everything around you, instead of you controlling what's going on around you. The most powerful thing that helped me understand, holy crap, I actually have the ability to control what's going on. And that was, if you don't like what's on TV, change the channel. And why I'm saying that is because when I had found myself locked in my own thoughts, spinning, anxiety, depression, and it was like I just wanted to shut my brain off. And if any of you listening have had PTSD or anxiety, depression, any of those things, racing thoughts, anger, you probably know what I'm talking about. And you're so locked in that prison where you're just like, I just want to take my brain out of my head, rinse it out, throw it in the dishwasher, right? Put it in the washing machine and then put it back in, because I just need these thoughts out of my brain. Well, the thing is, you can do that. You can do that right now. You can meditate for a few minutes, clear your mind. There's a lot of great guided meditations online. Joe Dispenza's got a billion, so I'm glad you brought him up. There's some really great material there. But then when you're doing that, as something comes into your mind that seems intrusive or that you don't like, it is quite literally as simple as, oh, there's that thought. I don't like it. I don't want to listen to that today. So literally, I'm going to change the channel. So start breaking the cycle. Once you are able to get into a place where you recognize the patterns of your thoughts that you don't like, catch them. Hey, I don't like you thought. That's not something that we're going to do today. We're changing the channel. Literally, you can even make a hand motion, just whoop, we're changing the channel and we're going to start thinking about something else. Flip it to the opposite of what it is. So as an example, if the negative thought was, I hate my body, change it to, my body is serving me so well and it's getting better every day. Or it could be like, I really suck at math. Okay, well, instead of I really suck at math, I can't wait for opportunities to learn how to do math even better than I know it now. So just like little things that you can change. And once you get into the repetition of that and build the new ways of thinking, the new, more positive, more encouraging trains of thought, you're going to find yourself much happier in general, but also you're going to realize you are not being controlled by your thoughts. You actually get to decide what happens inside your brain. So you're going to get intrusive thoughts once in a while, even when you're in an amazing place. So I don't want you to think that you're never going to have negative thoughts, but the magic is you realizing that you can stop them and change the channel. So I'm so glad you said that, Nick.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And I think, NLP, right? Neuro-linguistic programming is like when we're taught, it's most people are in the passenger seat of life and they don't know it, right? And so a lot of people, we all know the law of cause and effect. For every effect there's a cause, and every cause there's an effect. And most people, they leverage the law of cause and effect in a way that allows them to play victim. Well, the reason why I smoke is because my whole family smokes, or the reason why I'm unhealthy is because no one in my family has ever been healthy, or the reason why I'm broke is because no one in my family has ever made that type of money. And so we're casting blame on something external for the reason why we are where we are. And the moment you start taking ownership of the way that you feel, the way that you show up, the way that your bank account looks like, the way that you view yourself in the mirror, you actually go from cause and effect to causing the effect. And you realize that you are the cause. You've always been the cause. And the moment you can take ownership of that, you can start changing the game for yourself. So I love that analogy that you explained of just like, hey, change the channel, but take ownership that you're the one that turned the damn TV on and you put that show on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other thing that is really resonating for me right now too is I'm getting a lot of people as I'm talking to them. I just had somebody recently that was sick for a few weeks, and their goal was to go to the gym every single day. And, at a minimum, even if they were just going to do like 30 minutes walking on a treadmill, and they got sick for a few weeks. And I was like, hey, I thought you were going to the gym every day. Like, how come you not been going to the gym? And they're like, well, I'm really sick. And I'm like, is there something you can do? Like, if you can't leave the house, can you, walk on the treadmill in your house? Can you do push-ups? Can you do sit-ups, right? Like, what can you do? Can you do some squats? Can you, take a couple 5-pound weights, or, a couple of heavy books and do some curls? Like, you might be sick, but like, don't let that be a limitation to you. Or, I've had somebody recently that I was talking to that, I've been doing my podcast for a couple of months now, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, this, you're so great at this. And, whatever, they were giving me really great feedback, which was lovely and so appreciated. But I also remembered how a year ago from now, I didn't have a podcast. And the reason why I didn't have a podcast, I'd wanted to do it for 5 years. And I didn't do it because I'm like, I'm not good enough, or I don't have the right equipment. My background isn't how I want it. I don't have the right lighting. I don't know what to say. I don't have the right guests, etc. And I ran across this guy who's very wildly successful. He's got 6 million subscribers on YouTube or something like that. And him and I were chatting, and I told him my dream, and he was like, well, do it now. Literally just start right now. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I have to wait until I have this. I have to wait until I have that. I need to wait. And, I was just basically giving a list of things that I needed to wait for. And he's like, so let me just give you some tough love here. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be done. And you'll start building on that. So, and it'll become better and better and better and better. And so lo and behold, I have a podcast now, and it's
Let's
definitely,
go.
it's not perfect, but at the same time, I am so proud of myself for getting out of that self-limiting belief that I had to wait until things were X before I could do X. So I just gave an example of someone who's sick. They're waiting to go to the gym until they're 100% better. You don't need to. You can walk around. You can go outside and get some sunshine for 20 minutes and just do a casual walk. You're still getting your body moving and exercising, even if you're quote unquote, you're sick. So there's always something you can do to move towards your goal. The only person stopping you is you.
Beautifully said. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just want to acknowledge you because of the journey that you've been on with not only healing but serving others through yourself and others through a podcast. I'm a firm believer that we can only heal others as deep as we're willing to heal ourselves. And I mentioned before we went live on air that I've been watching your journey of healing and growth, and I see more of you. And so I just want to acknowledge you for that. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you. Well, I would love to help our guests find you. Where can people find you, Nick?
Yeah, great. So Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, OnlyFans. No, I'm just kidding. Nick Santanastasso. If you type in Nick Santo, I'm the most handsome man with no legs, one arm, and tattoos. There's only a few of us running around. I'm going to claim number one here.
He's got a beard
And
and tattoos, ladies.
so yeah, those platforms. Most of my stuff is done on Instagram. But yeah, you can't miss me. I'm the unicorn out there.
Amazing. And what is something that you're working on right now that's really exciting?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things, and I even catch my brain not even want to say it because it kind of scares me, is I'm going to go after Paralympic hand cycling. And I've never
That's
said that
amazing.
until like, I've never even said those words until like 3 days ago. So I'm just going to like claim that here is I'm going to start cycling, get a prosthetic on this side so I can hook it up to and start hand cycling and see where that takes me. So that really excites me. And then one of my inner child dreams was to sing and rap and create music. And so I've created a whole album. I locked myself in an Airbnb with my producer. And so there's an album coming out. I have like two songs with Sean Kingston, the Quantum Leap, right? So magic. And so that's just like my passion project. And then, I've been on the biggest stages in the world with personal development, and I just like to dabble and be on the biggest stages for people singing my songs. So that could be something
Oh
cool
my
too.
gosh. I'm like, I can't wait to like be one of your downloads here on Spotify. Next time I meet you in person, I'm gonna start rapping to you
Let's
your
go.
own
Let's
stuff
go.
back. Yes. Heck yeah. That's amazing. What cool stuff you've got working on there. That's amazing. I cannot wait to see you actually visualize and cross the finish line of the cycling dream that you've got there. That's really, really cool. I can't wait to see you do that. Amazing.
Thank you.
And then are there any charities that you want to shout out while you're on the episode?
Wow, that's a great question. Um, I would, to be honest, there's not a specific one, but under the category of helping people break out children from human sex trafficking. It's always been a near dear to my heart, right? There's a whole entire operation going down that you cannot see, and it's out there, and it's evil, and it's good against bad, and so those are the things that I support. And then also, if there's any opportunity for people to get involved with people, in Dubai they call people like me people of determination. We don't use the word handicap, crippled, or disabled. They see people of determination, and so charities and organizations that help get people of determination included in sports, in arts, in anything that could be therapeutic for them. I think it's a beautiful thing because as humans, we will always do more for others than we do for ourselves. But there's also a sense of fulfillment and contribution that you can meet in a really empowering way. And I think the brain says something like the dopamine smack when you do something great for other people lasts way longer than it is for yourself. So if you're feeling in a not so good place, get outside yourself, do something for someone else, and watch how life will start to change.
Amazing. You just already answered my last question, which was, what do we tell people to do that are in a moment of crisis in their mind? But apparently it's get out and get some help towards other people. So nice work. And I will hyperlink a couple charities that are along those vein that you just mentioned so that people can go and check out and support those charities. Amazing. All right. Well, Nick, thank you so much for honoring us with your time today. I cannot wait to see what you do here in the future. You're doing some incredible stuff and inspiring people and changing lives. Thank you for coming on the show, and we'll catch you next time.
You're so welcome. Honored. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, take a moment to hit the like button, leave a comment below, share it with someone you love, and subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on a future episode. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.